Hello, and welcome to another Sports Next Door podcast. My name is Owen. Today is Friday, April 9th, and I am joined, by, as I always am, by my neighbor Max. How's it going, my friend?
Absolute shambles. How about you?
Oh, wow. Not what I was expecting. I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. It's Friday. We're almost to the weekend.
Yeah, that is true. I predicted absolute shambles last Monday, and here we are.
All right. Is that sports related or is that
No,
from the
that's
week?
Attack on Titan.
Ah,
The
okay.
story is over, and I'm still coping, trying to figure out if I like the ending or not.
Okay. And taking your time to formulate your thoughts, I'm guessing.
Trying to ignore as much of like online toxicity as I can while also not trying to just totally write it off and close my mind to like any comment that suggests something I don't like, which is a fine line to walk because there can be like a ton of hate, but also some valid good points that are true, and you can't just say, oh, you've got to ignore the online hate and ignore everything. But we're seeing like ending a story is such a fine art, even telling a story. So it was a way better ending than like Game of Thrones, Rise of the Skywalker, that sort of stuff. Way better story as well, like throughout. So if there's a couple holes in the ending, things that don't quite make sense, but you like the main goal endpoint, maybe that should just be good enough and just block out the small stuff, medium stuff,
Definitely.
kind of
Yeah.
important stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to wrap up the first season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it is only a 6 episode season, and they're already halfway through with plenty to get to in the story. It's never an easy thing to wrap up a show, and very few have done it in a way that satisfies fan bases.
See, I feel like with a lot of TV shows where they get into trouble is they have this one a little different, of course, but they have this great idea for a first and maybe second season, and the pilot goes great, the show's rolling, and then it's just way more successful, and you only discontinue it and stop it there if you hate money at the time. So you have to find a way to spin the creative wheels in the mud, so to speak, and figure out how to keep it moving. And when you're in the moment trying to think about how to extend it, that's never going to be as good of an idea as before the show even started production and you had all the time in the world and you had this initial great idea. So I don't know if you ever watched like Prison Break.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's my favorite example because like the first season is so amazing and the second season's still pretty solid, and you can tell then they go and they're like, oh well, we can't just end this here, but it clearly wasn't part of their plans to keep going, so they just have to, how do we find more prisons to break out of? And it just never quite reaches that excellence that they saw in the first season when they conceived of the whole show. So I guess with Falcon Winter Soldier, I mean, I don't, it's part of a universe they're just constantly trying to extend, so they probably didn't have that same like one amazing pilot
Yeah,
pitch idea, but maybe the floor is higher just because they've been doing it for so long at such a consistent production level.
definitely. That's yeah, 100% that's where it is because they have all of this great stuff to work with, but it's also the difficulty of adding in new storylines and making sure they fit with this overarching picture and also the vision where they're trying to go, right? Because they've now used up all of the like well-known characters. And so they have to deal with they've moved on from that initial massive bit that they've worked with, and they're working towards this new future of heroes with a lot of people that common viewers aren't interested in, and they have to create exciting storylines that also make sure they match with the roots of where they were coming from. It's definitely an interesting project to see where it goes, and I'm really excited. Loki is coming out in 2 weeks, and that should be a good show. Definitely a fun character.
True, it's such a interesting crossroads between like a media empire and expansion at the same time as this, like, delving into a comic verse world that's probably I mean, comic books have been popular for a long time, but I don't know if they've ever had such mainstream popularity as these characters do now.
Yeah. It's, yeah, 100% true. It's all of your research and development costs, so to speak, has gone into these characters, and it's your core business, but it doesn't sell to the greater population. And so you have to figure out entertaining ways to do that. Okay, let's get to sports, shall we?
This is a
And
sports podcast.
we have